Well, a lot of people around the world despise Putin, and I think that's what Joe Biden is counting on as he's dealing with his own domestic problems. He's saying, listen, it's not me. It's not that I cut off America's energy and took us from being energy dominant to now begging for oil and gas from, terrible enemies around the world. This is not about COVID and supply chain. This is really about Putin. Listen.
Despite the progress we made, we know that families are still struggling with higher prices. I grew up in a family where when the price of gas went up at the pump, gas station, we talked about it at the kitchen table. But let's be absolutely clear about why prices are high now. They're high for two reasons. One was COVID, and now, a second big reason for inflation is Vladimir Putin and gas prices. Not a joke. We've seen the price of gas go up over $1 just since he put his troops on the border of Ukraine. The world took notice. The market anticipated. Prices went up. And then Putin invaded. Make no mistake, the current spike in gas prices is largely the fault of Vladimir Putin. It has nothing to do with the American Rescue Plan.
Well, see, what they're trying to do is they're trying to pivot from Build Back Better, and they're trying to figure a way out of this hole that they are in when it comes to the polls. Nancy Pelosi herself told the president, hey, we need a better message because Americans are blaming us and Democrats for high prices with gas and food and stuff like that. What the president said is true. The prices of gas did go up about $1, once Putin put his people there along the border. What he doesn't say is they also went up $1 after Joe Biden essentially declared war on fossil fuels. So the Democrats are in a hole. So what are they going to do? They are looking to change the narrative. Remember, it was about a month ago, it was referred to as Bidenflation. The cost of everything, Bidenflation. Now it's Putin's price hike. That is how they are saying why gas is $7.11 there in Los Angeles over the weekend. So a couple of days ago, they called in 30 TikTok stars. They did a Zoom with them, and they said, okay, we want you guys to fight disinformation. There's a lot of disinformation out there, and the disinformation is that Joe Biden
is just so bad.
I know.
We're going to fight disinformation with more disinformation.
We're not talking about Pravda. We're talking about the White House. And they said, okay, we're going to fight this disinformation. People are saying it is Joe Biden. It's not Joe Biden. It is Putin. They explain that. And so Ellie Zealer, this is an example of how effective the talk was on Friday. She has 10 million followers on TikTok. After her briefing from the White House, she went out on TikTok to explain, hey, it's not Joe Biden. It's Vladimir Putin. Mission accomplished. Watch this.
Why is gas so expensive, and why is the United States inflation rate at a 4-time decade high? I had the opportunity to ask the White House why gas down the street is $7, and here's what they said. The obvious reason: we are getting out of a 2-year pandemic. When use goes up, price goes up. But the call was predominantly about Ukraine and Russia, so how does that relate? Russia is one of the top 3 producers of oil, and it is actually their #1 revenue source. Now, with Putin starting this horrific fight between Ukraine and Russia, nobody wants to work with him and do international trade.
It's a good move. If you want to get 18 to 24s, where are they watching, where are they going? TikTok. I used to think it was Snapchat news. Carly tells me it's not, that I'm so 2019. But so it's that. But here's the
Brian, by the way, I get some bad news about MySpace.
I know. I'm always the last to know. So I'm finding my password anyway, which always happens to me. The password pops up, and I never get close. I guess I got a cap lock. I'm not sure.
Password 123 no longer works.
But here's the thing. The one thing I know about these reality, like these people that become these TikTok stars, whether it's influencers, they're authentic. They're not usually bought. So when he says, I talked to the White House, and they said, I think unless you think 18 to 24-year-olds are stupid, they're going to pick out what we picked out. The White House is smart to go to the people with the most followers, but they are not smart to be a mouthpiece for the White House, because that whittles away at their authenticity, whether you think they're a genius graduating from Yale or you think they're high school dropouts who just left a gang. Regardless, those people trust them But now they're going to say, wait, are you saying the same thing as the White House? That's why I was on TikTok, because I didn't want to get traditional news.
I actually think that people do follow them. And mind you, big tech is right in line with all the talking points that are going on with from the White House as well. There is an incentive by everybody on the left to blame this and push this off on Putin so they can continue with their radical, frankly, anti-American climate agenda. Right now, we have just transferred massive amounts of wealth. We're transferring wealth that could be in the pockets of the American people, not just because of inflation, but jobs and everything else. And we're transferring it to people that hate us. And frankly, I will just say this. I absolutely find this to be so shallow. This government is going to people who say death to America, begging for oil. They're saying we're in Ukraine.
But they're not returning the call, so don't worry about it.
Well, but they're saying we're all about freedom and democracy. And they're the same people who crushed the freedom movement in Canada, told Trudeau to crush the truckers. And then now they're begging for oil in Venezuela from the very dictators who have crushed the freedom movement in Venezuela.
Who we don't recognize.
Who we don't, exactly. This is absolutely so hypocritical. And I don't think, Brian, that the TikTok users are going through this sort of, they're not thinking through all of this. They're going, wow, she's awesome. I like her. She went to the White House. They're taking us seriously. They say it's Putin. And then you see the TV and Putin looks pretty bad because he is bad. It seems like he could be a good villain that he can at least slough off some of the blame to.
Well, the White House influenced the influencers, and let's see how that impacts people. But I will say with that B-roll that we just saw, I think every gas pump in America now has one of those little Joe Biden,
Joe Biden did this. That might be the most effective thing the Republicans can do, is print off a bunch of those.
Right. I just think
somebody's behind it.
Somebody's doing it.
When the guy who created the best electric car says it's time to pump more oil and gas, Elon Musk, that says something. He cares more about the country than he does about his own profits, even though obviously he doesn't need extra money, nor does Carly Shimkus.
But the bottom line is the American people don't care who's to blame. They want President Biden to fix it. That's the main priority. Ditch the Venezuelan dictator's phone number. Start firing up those pipelines.
Top economists have said in the next year they can't fix the problem with what's happened here with the Ukraine war and inflation. It's going to go to 10%.
Are you circling back?
Yep, I'm circling back. It's going to go to 10%. And I don't think he's going to be able to blame this off on Putin.